Before we get into the video, I want to address the tremendous loss that happened this past week. In the world of surrealism, there is one man who is the true king, and that is Lynch. David Lynch has been blowing people's minds since 1977, and though he may have passed, that process is not going to stop. I have spent the last year and a half diving into this man's filmography, and I truly am mesmerized. There's a reason that when I posted about his passing, I said that we had lost a world. He was not just a man, he was an entire civilization. Everything feels dimmer without him. The world makes less sense without him in it, and yet it makes more sense at the same time, and that's a bad thing. I encourage you to, if you have not, watch at least one Lynch movie in your lifetime. The emotions I have felt while consuming his creations is unlike anything else. Some of my favorite moments in filmmaking are Lynch-made. I recommend starting with the movie Blue Velvet and going from there. He is a clear inspiration to the very show we discussed today, Severance, which stars Patricia Arquette, a previous collaborator. To Mr. Lynch, at least you'll still be in our dreams. Alright. Video time. Severance is an Apple TV Plus series that was first released in 2022, though I don't believe I first got into it until 2023. And the thing just blew my mind when I saw it. The show stars Adam Scott as Mark, being one of many severed workers employed by Lumen, a corporation who has created the Severance program to make work-life balance as literal as it can be. Innies, as they are called, only work and only remember the work, while outies are able to erase those memories and spend their entire lives around the people they love. However, as you may be able to guess, with a series revolving around a mysterious company program, there's more at play, and things get very eerie. The innies are essentially given no human rights, seen as expendable and barely living creatures, and their work is entirely unexplained. Their employers are mysterious weirdos who are suspected of being behind multiple conspiracies ranging from car crashes to world domination. The show is wild and definitely surreal, as you begin the series with many questions that will take many episodes to be explained. And the work environment that the innies live in is, well, let's just say it's hypnotic. As I said, my mind was blown by this series, and I have been waiting so eagerly for the second season's arrival. Well, episode 1, Hello Miss Cobel, is here, and it looks like season 2 might be giving us some of the answers we're looking for. Spoilers ahead. Now, what this episode is very much an establishment to build on. To be honest, the episode itself, not very eventful, but it's clear that the writers felt it was necessary. Hello Miss Cobel takes place entirely in the office, meaning no outie Mark. You're also going to see none of Mark's sister Devon, her husband Rickon, or shockingly Miss Cobel herself, since she's been fired and replaced with Mr. Milchick. For a long time, Innie Mark and Mr. Milchick are the only main characters you see, since after Mark and the team revolted against the company by leaving the office as themselves, the team had to be separated. Mark is brought back and given a new team, who are quirky. One is a weird old dude, one is a fangirl of his, since Mark's team's stunt has gone very public, and the third barely speaks English. Mark learns from Mr. Milchick that his team supposedly refused to return despite promises of severance reform, where the innies would be treated much better to appease the public. However, as soon as Mark sabotages his new team, Milchick quickly returns him to the original four: himself, Helly, Irving, and Dylan. Now, Milchick's decision to do this is never explained, but my guess is that he quickly realized that there would be no way to control Mark and the others unless they had each other. Apparently, Dylan, Irving, and Helly weren't all brought back separately like I would have theorized, but I still do believe that the idea that their outies refused to come back is definitely a lie, because Helly's outie is the daughter of the CEO, so she definitely already knew about all the torturous work experience. As soon as the group is back together, Milchick brings them to the break room and shows them a severance reform video voiced by Keanu Reeves, and the idea of Season 2 starts to settle in. It's obvious that severance reform is something that the innies do not have to believe in, but the public does. All the company must do is make it look like they are improving their environment, when really, all they've done is add goofy little perks like hall passes and pineapples. Their work is still just as confusing, and they have still just as little control. However, to the public, this is surely being posed as a complete overhaul. Also, this seems like the best time to acknowledge Milchick, who is now in charge, and is as creepy as ever. Tremel Tillman is such a fucking fantastic villain, donning that disturbed smile and speaking with a friendly cadence even if the words he's saying are straight up sinister. This man gets this show. He knows exactly the vibe they're going for and matches it effortlessly. It's also fun to see him completely alone with no one to manipulate, just dealing with regular dude problems. That's always cute. So, how does the gang respond to this? Well, Helly begins by lying. In the finale episode of Season 1, Helly discovers that she is the daughter of the CEO of the very company which tortures her, being used as proof that these procedures are completely safe. Look, even my daughter's doing it. Helly seems to be apparently ashamed of this, and so she lies that her life was completely normal and boring. But this is a lie that clearly is not going to last. Both Mark and Irving suspect something is off about her, and the fact that one of the three innies has to have leaked something to the public, given their massive fame, I doubt that this story is going to hold up. It does give Helly an interesting new arc after she was kind of sidelined in the second half of Season 1, having most of her development be at the beginning. I'm definitely interested to see where it goes. Next up is Irving, who is surprisingly the closest to abandoning ship of all of them. Side note, Milchick gave the innies another benefit, which is that they can leave if they choose to, no questions asked. However, since this is essentially suicide, and the four don't want to leave each other behind, of course they wouldn't, right? It's just manipulation, right? Well, Irving gets very close. Season 1 followed Irving going through the softest, sweetest, gay old man romance side plot with Christopher Walken, of all people, but with Bert, Walken's character, no longer at Lumen and with another man in the outside world, it's kind of hopeless for Irv. He practically decides to off himself, theorizing that Bert is in a sort of Lumen heaven that he can get to as well if he leaves. He's only convinced to stay by Dylan, whose relationship with Irv is clearly teed up to be expanded this season. It's also a little gay. Irv literally says to Dylan, "I'm your favorite perk." That's some gay shit. Overall, I really have to compliment Arturo, Irving's actor, for being the best of anyone at capturing the childish innocence of the innies. There's something so wholesome about his character that persists into this season, and it's very purposeful. Finally, there's Mark's confession, which he just tells all the way. He met Rickon Hale, his brother-in-law, who, if Keir, creator of Lumen, is God, Rickon is basically Jesus Christ to the innies. And also, Miss Casey, the wellness therapist at Lumen, is Gemma, his Audie's dead wife. I'm still going to refer to her as Miss Casey since that's how we know her best. Miss Casey was one of my favorite side characters in Season 1, being just as quirky as Mr. Milchick, but clearly more innocent in her pursuits. Though she is barely in this episode, she is set up to be very important going forward, which I'm excited to see since actress Dejan Latman has impressed me so far. The only time we actually see Miss Casey is at the very end of the episode. Everyone is settled in, Irv is back, and the gang all sits down to do their mysterious work again. I'll admit it was a little strange to me that the group seemed so willing to accept Severance reform despite it being an obvious hoax, but it appears that they don't want to abandon each other, and Mark and Helly now have a goal, which is to get Miss Casey out of Lumen. So it seems that they're content. However, the episode isn't, as we see Mark's work apparently coincides with a project with Miss Casey's face plastered right on it, which is most likely building her mind. Holy shit. This would be the first clue of what the work at Lumen means, and I think it's a good time for it. The innies discovering who they were was the climax of Season 1, and I'm guessing that the work is going to be the mystery that is solved in Season 2. My best guess right now is that it seems that they are quite literally growing people, which is a delightfully sinister reveal about Lumen, matching the mustache-twirling desires of world domination revealed by current CEO Jamie Egan in Season 1's finale. Bizarre, yes, but isn't that fitting? And for now, that's all we've got. As I said, very much an establishing episode, just letting us know what's changed and what hasn't. I have to admit, I left this episode thirsting for more. That's definitely by design. The fact that there are so many characters left unseen is brave, but smart. The next episode is titled Goodbye, Mrs. Selvig, the very inverse of this episode's title, leading me to believe that we might see an entirely outie-based episode next week, given that Mrs. Selvig is the outside identity of Miss Cobel. There's a lot of things you could call this show, and at the very top, might just be genius. Severance knows how to screw with you, bringing you to the edge of your seat as the credits roll, just to piss you off. But it'll never piss you off enough that you won't be there for the next one. Episode 1 is very solid, earning an 8 out of 10 for me. It didn't make my brain explode, but it told me that this show has not lost the sauce. It still very much has the sauce. There's sauce all over this thing, and I cannot wait for episode 2. Give it to me. Give it to me now. They should have released 2 episodes. They're sister episodes, right? That's the idea, so give it to me. Give it to me, please. Bye now.